How are you doing today? There will be times when you don't want to answer this question, but I'll keep asking until you truly feel okay. Hello, we are Mind Window, and welcome to our podcast series, which often begins with why questions. Based on first principle thinking, this approach provides you with diverse perspectives on various life issues. To truly embrace a vibrant spirit, join us for this episode. Has there ever been a single sentence that shattered you? The mother pointed directly at her daughter, who was desperately trying to convince her to pursue the major she dreamed of. Shut up. You're useless. You can't do anything right, so you have no right to speak in this house. After hearing that, the girl just cried. It was true. She was useless. She had always been that way since she was little, breaking everything she touched, even when she tried to be careful. She was clumsy, awkward, and had no artistic flair. Her mother always called her trash. She believed she was scrap metal. The teacher shook his head in resignation and scolded the student who was scratching his head at the blackboard. Are you mentally challenged or something? Your thinking is so far behind your peers. You'll never pass high school and you'll have no future. Laughter erupted from the classroom. In a corner, there were whispers. The boy stood there alone, eyes fixed on the floor, not daring to look up. A life so long, yet he saw no path forward. Fine, consider me without a son. Followed by a sigh of helpless despair. The only male heir of the entire family stood outside the door, secretly listening to the conversation between his parents. Since they learned he was like that, since he started dressing like a girl, his father hadn't looked him in the eye. His father avoided him. His father said he was sick and that he needed to be cured to become normal. His father wanted him to live like a normal person. Sometimes the word normal, which sounds so insignificant, can shatter a person into a million pieces. That day, her heart felt heavy. Look at yourself. You're exactly like your mother. You say you hate your mother's stubbornness, but you're no different from her. You're making me more stressed every day. Work pressure is already enough. She couldn't understand what true love really was. How could people who claimed to be in love say such bitter words? Before, she had always thought that if two people in love broke up, it would at least be because of some major event, like a third party or an incurable illness. But in reality, just indifference, insecurity, disagreement, and exhaustion are enough for two people who once loved each other to become strangers. Because of one sentence, a heart full of scratches can heal, but also because of one sentence, it can stop beating. Words are as sharp as knives. Chosen correctly, they heal. Chosen incorrectly, they wound. Even an accidental remark, an unintentional jab, or a casual judgment can become a tool to shatter one or many hearts. And this is also what I learned from Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The 4 Agreements. Words are like magic spells. The one who casts the spell is like a sorcerer. Humans are all sorcerers, and we can absolutely cast spells on others or release them from spells. Unlike physical violence, verbal abuse leaves no visible wounds on the skin, no raised or sunken scars, but it festers in the spirit. It slowly penetrates the heart. It can blossom into saplings and fruit if they are words of love, but it can also take deep root, sucking out all nourishment and vitality if they are thoughtless, bitter words. The speaker may not even remember, but every single word can be deeply embedded in the listener's heart, causing the wound in their soul to ache acutely every time they recall it. Some people can't even heal these wounds, quietly holding them close until they leave. The saddest thing is that people often utter unintentional words to their loved ones, those who care about them more than to strangers. Parents scolding children, children being harsh with parents, friends mocking each other, siblings showing contempt. People are very good at putting themselves in the shoes of strangers, easily forgiving and showing understanding towards them, but with their loved ones, they unleash bitter words. Parents use hurtful language to kill their children's self-confidence, yet always wish for their children's success. Friends casually mock someone's appearance and then brush it off, saying, "Just kidding, don't mind it." This is the paradox. Verbal abuse can be difficult to identify. Abusers might hurt your self-esteem while also appearing deeply caring towards you. Perhaps the parents, teachers, friends, or partners in the earlier podcast scenarios didn't intentionally mean to cause pain with their words. Perhaps the mother herself endured childhood trauma but didn't realize it and was unintentionally projecting it onto her child. Perhaps the teacher was simply overwhelmed and didn't know how to motivate the student. Perhaps the father was only worried about scandal and gossip from outsiders, but in his heart, he still loved his son very much. Perhaps the boyfriend was under immense work pressure, couldn't control his emotions, and accidentally snapped at the girl. There are countless reasons for these hurtful actions, but why do those who are hurt go on to hurt others? Those who speak damaging words, whether intentionally or unintentionally, almost never understand the deep psychological wounds of the victims. And the victims, in turn, may believe they are being overly sensitive, too weak, or intentionally exaggerating the problem. In some cases, the victims themselves don't even realize they are being abused. If these hurtful actions recur with increasing frequency, escalating to physical violence, then you should educate yourself on how to protect yourself and also how not to hurt others. According to Patricia Evans' classification, Working 2006, verbal abuse manifests in the following forms/expressions. First is being made fun of or given bad nicknames. The abuser claims to have a sense of humor to highlight the victim's weaknesses, calling the victim names that make them feel embarrassed and insecure, but disguised with phrases like, "It's fun to say," "It's cute," or "I didn't mean anything by it." The second form is dismissing emotions, perceptions, and behaviors. Abusers frequently deny the victim's thoughts and ignore their feelings. They claim the victim is being overly sensitive and exaggerating the situation. The third form is blaming and accusing. Abusers often use words to blame someone for unreasonable or unintentional situations. Victims are unfairly made the target of anger, scolded for not meeting the abuser's expectations, simply due to the abuser's own agitation, frustration, or anger. The next form is sarcasm. Abusers always find ways to make victims feel awkward and ashamed. Although it may sound like praise or flattery, it is actually a way of poking fun and ridiculing. Next is criticism and belittling. There's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. However, those who use verbal abuse tend to constantly criticize and pick out the victim's flaws to make them feel terrible and useless. They use humiliation and shame to demean and erode the victim's self-confidence. Following that is isolation. They refuse to talk, deliberately ignore the victim even when they are communicating. Even when in the same room as the victim, they make the victim feel the terrifying silence and loneliness that torments their soul. Finally, the form of threats and frequent shouting. Abusers tend to yell, speak loudly, or use impolite, rude language to overpower the victim. So, if you are a victim of verbal abuse, what should you do to overcome this psychological shadow? In the 4 agreements, the book I mentioned above, the second agreement is the answer. Don't take anything personally. Victims need to recognize that they are experiencing verbal abuse, and then they can form a reasonable approach to others' abusive behaviors. First, set boundaries. Tell the other person that you will not talk to them when they are insulting, yelling, threatening, or demeaning you. If they say they are just kidding, firmly tell them that you don't like that joke. If the boundary you set has been crossed, stop communicating and leave, even if you are at home. Remember, only return home when you feel safe. Leaving the house is a sensible solution if another family member is angry and needs to calm down. At this time, leave for a few hours and return when you feel ready. If the abuser tends to continue to be angry or even escalates to physical violence, stay away. If there are children or other vulnerable individuals in the house, you should also take them with you. If you are verbally abused by a stranger, the best way is to ask them to stop their hurtful words. Your silence and endurance can allow the abuser to become more aggressive and use more extreme language. Therefore, the first thing to do is show a serious attitude and demand that the other person immediately stop those hurtful words. Faced with your attitude, the abuser might act indifferent. However, instead of arguing, you should repeat your statement. What you're saying isn't constructive. It's only bringing negative emotions to me. We should end this conversation here. Then, leave the abuser to limit conflict. Next, you should gradually learn to ignore negative comments. Life doesn't always go as planned. Instead of focusing on sarcastic or critical remarks, we should focus on ourselves, on our emotions. Each emotion only lasts for about 6 seconds. If it lasts longer than 6 seconds, it's likely that you are choosing to prolong that emotion, and it will become a feeling and linger longer. This means that when faced with hurtful words, I hope you'll pause to observe yourself for a moment. You might feel angry or distressed in the first 6 seconds, but after that, try to look deeper and realize how pitiful the people speaking those negative words truly are. They are spreading negative energy, and they will surely receive back exactly what they have transmitted. After all, they are only harming themselves. Your task now is to strive to study and work to assert yourself. Outsiders don't look at how much effort you put in. They only look at the final result you achieve. This period will be truly difficult, but don't let yourself be hurt by trivial and unworthy things. Unless you allow it, no one has the right to hurt you. True education uses positive methods to help us grow, improve our awareness, and become better versions of ourselves. Regardless, you have tried your best, so you have no regrets. These are also the last 2 agreements in the 4 agreements that I believe all of us need to commit to for inner peace and happiness. Be impeccable with your word. Don't say negative words. Don't take anything personally. Don't allow yourself to be affected. Don't make assumptions. Don't set illusory expectations of pleasing everyone, and always do your best. Just a few seconds of a single sentence have made me die a few times over. No matter how many stars, how many lights, they cannot illuminate the darkness. No amount of sorrow or tears of regret can revive a soul full of scratches and wounds. Words once spoken cannot be taken back. I only wish we would be a little gentler with each other, a little kinder, and more careful with our words, to care for others and to care for ourselves.